Hi, this is Michelle Cromer,
And this is Perla Maldonado.
and y'all have tuned into our podcast, Creating a Meaningful Life, and you're in for a treat. You can already see that we have someone else with us, and
Other than us.
and he's one of our dearest friends and used to be a regular on our radio show, Christopher Barbour. Hello, Christopher.
Hi, everybody.
So I want to just give you because it's impossible to say everything that Christopher is and all that he does and all that he means to us. But I'm going to do a real quick bio. It won't capture everything, but here we go. Christopher is a forensic artist, a psychic detective. That's so exciting. A lecturer and a writer. He has been respecting his intuition since the age of 7, which is what we're talking about today. For the past 34 years, he has been helping others to understand their intuition and working for various types of law enforcement in cold cases group, families of murder victims in various ways, especially sketching suspects for unsolved cases. So exciting. Christopher has lectured at several popular conferences, including CrimeCon, which I saw, and the International Remote Viewing Association. He is currently working on a book about his work and his journey with intuition. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Nice to see you
Thank you,
again.
thank you, thank
Good
you.
to see
It
your
really is
hands.
like old times.
It is. It is. Well, we're just going to dive right in and talk
Sure.
about how do you define intuition?
There are many ways to do that. I define it this way, that intuition is the perception of a truth or truths that is devoid of time. It's a timeless perception of truth, where we go from not seeing to seeing, feeling, sensing, hearing, smelling, some combination of some of those instantly. And that's how we know it's intuition. It might come out of left field, and it's timeless in nature. It's a timeless perception, which is why, and this is related to a potential other question that you had the
Mhm.
other day, it's different than imagination, and
Mm.
that's a biggie for people to understand, which we'll get to. But intuition tends to be something that comes in quickly and it leaves,
It's
and
like
that's,
death. And it
yeah,
and
it's
you
just,
and
it's timeless.
do you know when it's hitting you that wait a minute, that wasn't me.
That's weird. That feels weird.
That's
Yeah.
different. That's
I've come to see, I've been doing this for so long, it takes time. I'm always telling people, give your intuition the respect of time, linear time. It's not something that's going to happen in a weekend. Everybody's wired with it, so it's not something, quote, special that only certain people have. And I don't want to get ahead of you, but um, there's a subtlety to a lot of intuition that at the same time is anything but subtle,
mm.
and it's very easily recognizable because often it's something that is out of left field. And but it if you push it away, it will tend to bother you because the subtlety of it, you know what? It keeps getting me. So it takes time to recognize it.
Give us an example of intuition in your own life. Like I know that's like every day, every second of the day for you, but something
Well,
that maybe that was something you that helped you or something that you regretted not following.
well, and you said something interesting because you saying that it's every moment of the day. All of ours. This isn't me, just me. Our intuitive system never turns off.
Mm.
You're never not intuitive. You are, however, like me and all of us, we deal with so much mind chatter. And one of the things that serves our intuition best is when we're able to set aside our own stuff, our own worries, our own mind chatter, not have 12 things going in our head all at the same time. That's
Right.
a saboteur for intuition. But, you know, a time when I was grateful for my intuition was when it was intuition that I realized was coming in while I was driving. And all I wanted to do was go home and rest because at the time I was caring for my mom. I cared for her until she was 94. I helped her live and I helped her to die. But there was a day as a caregiver, all I wanted to do was go home. But some intuition came in and I knew I had to get to my mom's house. It was subtle, but it was bugging me. And every time I would push it away, it would come back. And I won't tell you the whole story today, but it's just that because I listened to my intuition and respected it, I went right to her house. She looked and seemed fine. But as soon as I took her blood pressure, I realized she wasn't fine. And fast forward to the emergency room and the
Right.
cardiologist saying, I don't know what got you to bring your mom here, but because I wasn't going to tell him the whole story, but he said, you saved her life. So intuition, don't ever let anyone tell you that your intuition or intuition itself doesn't save lives, because it does. It saved
Ab-
my life. I've saved other lives. And so there's a time that it was, something that helped a lot.
Well, how do we develop our intuition?
Well, do you have 6 hours? Um, First and foremost, we have to remember that sometimes the loudest person in the room isn't the smartest person in the room, and isn't the one we should necessarily listen to. So intuition is like that, where it begins with just actually embracing the fact that you have an intuitive system. You're wired with intuition, just like you're wired with an immune system, a respiratory system, ancestry, the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, heavy beards, whatever it is, British, Welsh, Mexican, whatever, black, white. You're wired with intuition. You can't unwire yourself. So you have to, embrace that first and foremost, and start noticing the quiet thing.
Right.
Start
Right.
noticing the things where you can say, you know, I think that was intuition. And then when it happens again, you can start noticing patterns and starting to notice, well, that tends to mean that. So I'm going to pay attention to that. And and this is probably segueing into another question, but excuse me. One of the most important things we can ever do when it comes to our intuition is this. It's to begin to understand the difference between intuition and imagination.
Ooh,
The difference
right.
between intuition and imagination. Imagination gets us into trouble because we start to make up stories, and we know many instances where well-meaning people, psychics, told stories and logical stories and wanted to tie a ribbon around it for their client. That's not intuition. That's
Right.
that's imagination. Intuition, like I said, it comes in, it leaves. Comes in, it leaves. It might bug you a few times, but if you keep pushing it away, it will get away from you, and it'll go smoke a cigarette. So, you know,
Exactly.
it's like an
Exactly.
angel who's rolling their eyes. But I mean, imagination tends to be a story, and it tends to be logical. And then this happened, and I went there, and that's not intuition. So remember
Right.
that intuition comes in, it's quick, and it
And
leaves. And if you are so distracted, you're most likely not going to notice it.
well, let me tell you something that happened to me that to our so our viewers can understand. It's not grandiose or big things. I was at Whole Foods. I had just bought, this was a long time ago. I had just bought a whole lot of paper towels, right? I'm going down the paper towel aisle, and all of a sudden, buy paper towels. I'm like, I just bought paper towels, but okay, I'm going to buy paper towels. Put them in my buggy, get home. Well, Sam had spilled all this milk all over everything. And he had used all the paper towels that I had bought last week. So sometimes it's the
Yeah,
little things, but wouldn't you
it is.
agree if you pay attention to the little things, then
Yep,
all of a sudden your system is like, oh, I understand the difference between that and imagination.
absolutely. It's perfect. That's a perfect example. And I've often said to folks what I've heard a few great teachers say in the past, which is, don't expect grand visions if you're not even willing to listen
Mm.
to and respect the quiet things. My
Mm.
experience with intuition, I've given my life to intuition, and I have never once regretted it. But if you respect it, it's almost like it's a friend within you that respects you back. And
Right,
another thing
right.
just to keep in mind is our intuitive system and our subconscious are linked. And
Mm.
so, uh, it's one of the reasons why I held this up earlier as a joke, but sometimes sketching and doodling and drawing, and if you're
Mm.
trying to intuit something about yourself or about life, if you just get a blank piece of paper, because there's a direct connection between our subconscious and our intuitive system and our hand. So,
Mm.
and
Oh, wow.
there are
Oh,
scientists that are, working on studying that kind of thing right now. And so that's why we might sketch, doodle, or draw the truth better, more elegantly, and faster than trying to intuit it in some other way. So getting your hand into it, and art. That's why there are a lot of artists and people who are right-brained, and that have a lot of intuition in their lives, and end up studying it. So
So that kind of answers the question Michelle asked you, right? About how you can develop it is creative, where you let your mind flow. And
absolutely.
so, Christopher, do you think that intuition is connected to another spiritual being somehow,
Well, I do, because,
or to your
the
inner wisdom?
universe and
Yeah.
our unconscious.
well, I think all of the above. And I,
Okay.
excuse me, I say that because I had a short near-death experience and got to have an interaction with with who I would call, this divine, mysterious creator of ours. And if we
Mhm.
are created, and we have, like I said earlier, an immune system and respiratory system, and we're uniquely
Right.
different in our ancestry. We were created with an intuitive system, and as we're animals, and
Of
so
course.
it's
Yeah.
obviously important to the creative forces in the universe. And so I do believe that. And also, there are times when I'm working on something where my I will remind myself and or ask certain questions of my own uh, uh, personal spiritual support system, known and unknown, because
Mm.
I can tell you, I've had experiences that never in a million years would I think certain folks would be interested in me or my life or what I do or something like that. So we all I believe do have a spiritual support system. There's uh, a great quote, and I don't know who said it, but it goes, "In the quiet pursuit of your purpose, unseen allies will, gosh, I wish I could remember, will find you, and
We'll find you.
they will walk next to you." And I
That sounds
absolutely
Oh,
believe that.
that sounds like we need to have him back for just that kind of podcast.
yeah.
That's a powerful statement. Well,
Yep.
I've got a question
Yep.
about, do you think there's a difference between feminine and masculine intuition?
I don't, because we're all wired with it. However, it's a good question, because there sure is a big difference between men and women. And so, you know, any of the men listening, you'll have to forgive me for this one, but I have just found in general that women are more open to intuition, and are more intuitive in general. And my greatest teachers of intuition have all been women. My greatest teachers,
Mm.
my greatest teachers, starting with my mom, have all been women. And I think that, and being around a lot of uh, groups where there were just women and just men and straight men and straight women, gay women, everything you could imagine. Uh, when I've been around other men and something even just related to intuition has come up, they're far more uncomfortable and
Yeah.
fearful than any of the groups of women I've been with. So, I mean,
Isn't that
I
interesting?
find that really fascinating. And
They're
so,
afraid of being ridiculed.
Yeah, and
yeah, yeah,
they aren't raised to embrace their emotions.
yeah,
Hmm.
And so that there tries to be that warrior archetype.
yeah,
And so that's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Truly, that is
yeah.
unfortunate. Well, I want to ask you, if someone wants to become more intuitive, where do they even start?
Well, they start with the small things. They start with the small stuff, and then start. paying attention to things that come to you out of the blue. Start paying attention to your dreams. What I found when I was younger, when a lot of this was starting for me, was that it took me a while to learn that when we're asleep, we're somewhat free of the distractions of the five senses. And
Yes.
so we're our
Yes.
sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th senses are much easier. It's easier to reach us, which is also why sometimes we'll have visionary experiences while we sleep that are not dreams. And those are the ones, like you were visited by a loved one and you were with them in a
Right.
place that seemed like an in-between place, and you were talking and they looked so good. That's not a dream. So I mean, just start paying attention more and more to things, and read books, find books, and find the most grounded teachers, the most grounded books. Try to stay away from the more woo-woo stuff if possible,
Right.
especially at the beginning,
Exactly.
because someone
Right.
telling you you were in Atlantis in another life is not going to help you get a roof over your head and put food in your tummy. So,
Yes.
start with the things
Absolutely.
to help make better choices and help, you know, live a life that's a little closer to what you claim you want by staying with the easy stuff. Because if you ignore the small stuff, I've known people who never really studied or respected their own natural intuition, their survival intuition, which I say is located right in your solar plexus, in your gut. That's
Right.
why
Your gut. Sure.
when someone says something to
Yeah.
you that's completely disrespectful and not okay for you, where do you feel it? Yeah, you'll feel it in your chest, but you feel it in
Yep.
your gut too. That's the
Yeah,
foundation.
you
That's where
bet.
the bricks, the granite foundation of your whole intuitive system is. And if you don't respect that, don't worry in the beginning about, oh, I want to have a vision, or from bad movies or bad TV shows you've seen. A
Right.
lot of it's bullshit. So I say start small and start recognizing what intuition you are experiencing and what is and isn't intuition. Stay out of
Sure.
imagination. And,
Right. Right. And I think women, to your point
yeah,
specifically, listen to our quote unquote gut feeling. When I was going to school at
Yeah.
NYU getting my master's, New York was a different place back then. It
yeah,
was extremely dangerous. And I taught myself to crossbody and walk with purpose and all of those things. And I was about to turn to the right um, on Prince Street. And I just got this like, that is not where I need to go.
right, right.
And I just turned my little body around. And as I walked out of the corner of my eyes, I saw several men in very dark clothes walking towards me. And if you don't think I didn't jump in a building as soon
Right,
as I could. So
right.
I think to your point, women really do.
Yes.
And that's also intuition, but a good example of a fear that is a good signal
Mhm. Absolutely.
in
Yep.
combination. Now, I can't even believe that it's already been like almost 20 minutes, but
Oh my God.
we're going to ask you another we're going to ask you another
Yeah.
question. What is the one thing you wish people would really understand about intuition?
Luckily, our culture has evolved a bit so that I'm seeing less of what I'm going to say right now. But there isn't a week that goes by that I'm not put in a position, whether it's a client, a colleague, a neighbor, a somebody, or someone who asks about, or we're talking about intuition, just plain natural intuition. There's an awful lot of undoing of old mythologies and old stories and old fears about intuition. And like I said earlier, a lot of that is because of bad TV shows and bad movies, and also people who are socialized in various religions to be highly xenophobic and critical of anything that's
Yes.
different or unusual has to be bad or a demon or this, and to me that's spitting in the face of our creator, because you were wired with
Right.
this. So there's a lot of
It's our birthright,
old
right? It's our
mythologies
birthright.
about intuition from 50 and 100 years ago that, the last time I spoke somewhere publicly, someone asked a question that was just one of those old, like, this has nothing to do with what I do and has nothing to do with intuition. I can't even remember what it was, but you know, just getting rid of some of the old mythologies about it and accepting the fact that it requires your respect, and you're wired with plenty of it. You don't need to somehow, stick your neck into something to I need more intuition. I need an infusion or something, like heroin. You got it. You got it. So,
Well, you have it in spades, and if I could just brag on you for just a second, I went to CrimeCon where you were trying to teach this crowd
oh
of
yeah, yeah,
people how to do what you
yeah,
do and
right.
sketch. And I want to tell y'all, in Christopher's work, the people that he sketches, you would think he's at a carnival with those people sitting in front of him in a chair. That's how closely he sketches the people, and that's why he's able to work with Interpol and the police and all these other trying to solve mysteries, help children that are missing. I know that you did that with me
Mhm.
personally in my Pink
Yep,
Crosses and my
yep.
foundation. Pearl and I are big fans of your work, and we can't wait to have you
Thank you.
back.
Thank you.
And I know you're working on your new
Yep.
book, and we're not going to wait for that to come out, but we would love to have you
I would
back.
love
And we're
to.
so honored that you spent this time with
I'm on.
us.
Yes,
I'm
Christopher.
honored as well. And because I loved those old blog talk when we were on a phone, and I was on a landline phone.
Oh,
Who has a landline phone anymore? But no,
That's how long
I
ago.
adore you both, and I will come on anytime you want. You just let me know. Okay?
Oh, we
oh,
so
thank
appreciate it.
you.
Love you. Thanks, y'all. And if you like this podcast, please like it and share it, and we'll have Christopher back.
Yes.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
y'all.
Bye.
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 Bye,
Bye.
Christopher.
Bye.